In the position of the of the signifier. The signifier is the question and the querent. The person who is asking the question, the person for whom this reading is about, and the question, that this core question at hand, or the first starting place of the question. And as I said, the question for me is what's going on with our nation? What's our country in terms of this healing process of this illness that is sweeping over the land, and all of the karma of our country, of our culture, of America, United States of America, and also specifically of Trump and his health at this moment, and what he is going through as our sovereign, which, you know, he is. And of course, he maybe, I don't know, maybe he wants to be a king. He is an elected representative, but he still represents us. And so here's what I got for the signifier. This is the place of the question facing us as a nation, especially in light of President Trump's COVID-19 illness. And the Rider Waite, A.E. Waite says, and I've paraphrased here, of course, but the magician is, and the magician, you will notice, is reversed. So the magician is the divine motive in man, reflecting God, the will in the liberation of its union with that which is above. It's associated with the rebirth of Christ. Now reversed, it can be seen as possibly the caster of dice or vulgar trickery, sort of a low-level magician. And that is who the magician is. So the magus, but the magus reversed. Perhaps the magus in a very difficult situation, perhaps a process of regeneration. Now the rune will tell us more. This is Soelu, wholeness. The impulse towards self-realization, the spiritual warrior's quest, a time for regeneration right down to the cellular level. Timely retreat, a voyage inward for centering and balance. This rune counsels opening up, letting the light into a part of your life that has been secret, shut away. This rune calls for profound recognitions and a recognizance of long-held denials of self. Face and vanquish your refusal to allow right action to flow through you. For by our own power we do nothing. Even in loving, it is love that loves through us. Position number 2 is the environment. And the environment we're talking about is what is surrounding the question. And the environment is strength, but it's reversed. Now, strength is another word for fortitude, which is connected to the divine mystery of union. It connects with the strength which resides in contemplation. This card conveys the idea of mastery, representing the principle of all force. And I think it is significant to notice that this is a feminine figure who both closes and or opens the mouth of the lion. And that's a matter of, you know, the higher forces perhaps of compassion that are really working with, perhaps taming the bestial or the carnal or the wild or the uncontrolled, or that animal energy that is within us. Of course, it has its place and it's important too. It's not something to be subdued, but to be mastered and to be worked with through our spiritual strength. The rune, this is Thuria's gateway, place of non-action. So this is, again, remember, this is what surrounds the question. There is work to be done, both inside and outside yourself. We cannot pass through this gate without contemplation. Here, you are being confronted with a true reflection of what is hidden in yourself, what must be exposed and examined before right action can take place. Deep, transformational forces are at work. So if that doesn't say it, I don't know what does. Anyway, here we go. Number 3. These are obstacles. This is interesting. The obstacles to the question or to the situation, and that can be thought of as what must be confronted, overcome, and integrated. And the card is the world, which is upright, also known as the universe or time. The perfection and end of the cosmos, the secret which is within it, the rapture of the universe when it understands itself in God. The state of the restored world when the law of manifestation shall have been carried to the highest degree of perfection. This is associated with the final initiation of the magus, the magician, who we had for the signifier, and it is also connected to revelation as the symbol of humanity. So this is the obstacle right here, is, working into this level of manifestation and a final initiation of that signifier, which is both the nation and its sovereign. Now below is the rune Nauthis, constraint, necessity, pain. This is a necessity of dealing with severe constraint. Identify our shadow, our dark and repressed side, places where growth has been stunted, resulting in weaknesses that we project onto others. So that gives us a lot more information there on the obstacles to the question. That's really what's going on. All of us have to look inside and see how we project ourselves onto others, and how this nation has made enemies within and without. And we do that all the time with each other and ourselves and our families. And Trump has absolutely capitalized on that. So I'm going to move up to the best outcome. And I have to admit, I don't understand this. We have for the best outcome, the Fool. The spirit in search of experience, the flesh, the sensitive life, once known as the alchemist, depicting folly at the most innocent stage, associated with the number 0. So maybe somebody can help me with that one, but I would say that it's like pure spirit, but there's folly in it too. There's blindness in it too, but there's trust, maybe radical trust. This one is interesting for me. And below we have the rune. You can sort of see it there. Oops. The rune is Awaz, which is reversed, movement, progress. So it's about transit and transition and movement, new attitudes and new life. But reversed, it's a block. Not all opportunities are appropriate. Not all possibilities are open to us. Avoid action. Consider what is timely to your nature, and remember, what is yours will come to you. So there's quite a message for the best outcome. I'd be interested in anybody's ideas on the combination of those meanings for us as a nation and for our president. Now, we have 5, which is what we have below. This is what to work with and what to use. What is below? Resources and impetus below our actions. And we have the Emperor reversed. And the Emperor reversed. First of all, the Emperor is a crowned monarch, executive power of this world, the higher kingship, the will in its embodied form. And reversed, I have his note to myself that I said the wound of the king is the sickness of the land. So that's my interpretation of the Emperor reversed below us. I'd be interested in anybody's other ideas and thoughts. The rune that we have, that I drew as well, is Othila, separation, retreat, inheritance. Now is a time of separating paths. Old skins must be shed, outmoded relationships discarded, radical severance. Surrender even that which is an aspect of your behavior or some part of your cultural inheritance. Reversed, consider not only what would benefit you, but what will benefit others, and act accordingly. Excuse me. Oh my. Just a little dry cough there. That's probably from the incense. Well, you may be called upon to undertake a radical departure from old ways. Total honesty is required. And I would say my extra interpretation is just a thought, harm to others is harm to the self. Harm to the people of the land is harm to the sovereign. So he does reflect what's going on for us. And maybe as perhaps some people feel, he is taking on the role for the American people. I feel like I've heard something like there may be some evangelicals who feel that he is he's undergoing this journey in a sense on our behalf, which is pretty heavy, but you know what, it actually really makes a lot of sense, because he has to look at his shadow now, and we also have to look at our shadow. So there's no getting around this. Scapegoating will only get us so far on all levels for anyone. Okay, behind. Now this is, I think it's considered kind of the immediate past to the question, what drives the present situation? And I have the sun. The destiny of the supernatural East, the great and holy light which goes before the procession of humanity. The transit from the manifest light of this world to the light of the worlds to come. Consciousness in the spirit, simplicity and innocence in the sense of wisdom, signifies the restored world. The mind in its renewal leads forth the animal nature. So something is coming into alignment. It's the dawning, the process of dawning, and that there is a simplicity and innocence in that, and a movement, and the energy towards restoration, restoring the world. So that's very interesting. The rune underneath. Kano, opening. Fire, torch, reversed. And reversed it is a darkening of the light, which is seemingly, opposite to what I just said about the sun, but it's interesting. Some aspect of us or our relationships may be dying. Some aspect of ourselves that is no longer appropriate to the people, the person we are now. You are on notice that failure to face up to the death consciously, I'll say that again. You are on notice that the failure to face up to the death consciously constitutes a loss of opportunity. Kano points to the death of a way of life invalidated by growth. Prepare to live for a time empty. Now I really resonate with that one. I mean, I feel like all of us who are dealing with the economic breakdown and extended 6 months of isolation and incredible constant unknown and constant chaos it's been such a meditation for me to learn how to live empty and to just live with an unknown constantly. It's been exhausting. And all right, here we come. You ready to go for this? Because this is to come. The immediate future and the next steps to the question. And here's what I pulled. Death. So there you go. Make some space for this. There we go. Death. Yeah. Immediate future is death. Okay. So, our next step is death. The veil or mask of life is perpetuated in change, transformation, and passage. So, A.E. White says that this is less to be understood mystically, but actually to recognize it as real death. And he says the natural transit of man to the next stage of his being may be one form of his progress. And on a mystical level, the entrance into the state of mystical death is in reality a change in form of consciousness. So that does require death. That is something that is absolutely unavoidable here. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that what Trump is facing on a personal level right now is he's staring down death. He does not know if he's going to get through this. That's a lot for that guy. I mean, I don't easily have compassion for someone who's locked up babies in cages. I'm sorry, it's hard for me, but I can look and see an old man, and that's what he ultimately is. He's just an old man looking at death, like all of us ultimately have to do. The transparent, here we go, here's more. The transparent and unescapable meaning is death, change, and transformation. And this is more especially true that it is a card of the death of kings. So that's a hard thing. It's a very hard thing. On a personal level and on a country level, as much as I am not a Trump supporter, that's really big. We're gonna have to see how things go. We'll see how things go, right? The rune underneath is Perth, initiation, something hidden, a secret matter. This rune is on the side of heaven, the unknowable. It has associations with the phoenix. Powerful forces of change are at work here. This is the rune of questing. Perth stands at the heart of initiation. Nothing external matters here, except as it shows you its inner reflection. I'm going to repeat that. That's so important. Nothing external matters here, except as it shows you its inner reflection. Perth means experiencing a psychic death. If need be, let go of everything. No exceptions, no exclusions. Nothing less than the renewal of spirit is at stake. Perth is concerned with the deepest stratum of your being, with the bedrock on which your destiny is founded. Not much more to say about that. Okay, so in this reading, then there are 4 more positions to discuss. And this is sort of like the leading out of this part of the reading into the next phase, whatever that might be. And this first position in that is the self and the attitude. And I take that to mean the present state of self-awareness of the querent. And I think that is something that is true for us as a nation, and for us to think about as being true for our sovereign. This is the place where he's at, and it's also the place where we are at collectively. Justice. The justice is the moral principle which deals unto every man according to his works. The spiritual justice involved is the idea, it is the spiritual justice that is involved in the idea of election. It's right in here, man. This is the meaning of election. This is the justice that is given out. And it is conferred by the people. So justice is a dedication to highest things. It's breathing of spirit where it wills. So in a sense, I think that A.E. White is saying that, divine justice is something that we'll never fully understand. It's a mysterious order of providence. And I would also say that as this country deals with justice, we are also looking at the justice system, and we are looking at justice that has been so long overdue in our country. From the bedrock of our being, from the bedrock of the beginning of our inauguration as a country, as the United States of America, many of us understand that this country was founded on injustices, and yet the vision, the ultimate highest ideals of justice were also woven into the intention of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, all of it. So there is must be a continual striving for justice, and this definitely means racial justice, and that is no joke and no accident in any way that the issues of racial justice and class justice and justice of the land here, justice for indigenous peoples, all of it. I could go through the long list, but I think we all know what it is. All of this is at stake. All of this is at hand. So here's the rune. This one is a really faded rune. Let's see if you can see it here. This is Ingus, fertility, new beginnings. So this is about the completion of beginnings, joyous deliverance, new life, a new path. You have the strength to achieve completion, resolution, from which comes a new beginning. Fertilize the ground for your own deliverance. This is an emergence from a chrysalis. Free yourself from a deep cultural or behavioral pattern. The period before birth may be dangerous. This represents movement that is timely and leads out of danger. Delivery is at hand. Be centered, grounded, and open yourself to the will of heaven. Taha! Feels good after that justice card. So, pardon me now, next page. All right. the next position here is the environment and the house. And this I take to mean who and what surrounds and supports the self as the querent, who in this case is the nation and trump. And it's the Chariot reversed. And A.E. White writes about this. Conquest. This is an image of conquest. Conquest on all planes, in the mind, in science, in progress, in certain trials of initiation. Above all things, triumph in the mind. And there's the two sphinxes here. And he has a reference to the charioteer's answer to the Sphinx. And he says, the question of the Sphinx is a mystery of nature. The planes of conquest are external and not within himself. The liberation he effects leave him in bondage to logic. His initiations have been on the mundane plane. Therefore, he cannot, quote, open the scroll called Torah, and fails to answer the questions of the high priestess. So this represents the king in triumph and the victory which creates kingship. Now I will remind us that it is reversed. So Waite doesn't have descriptions for reversed specifically, but I take this as potentially loss of kingship and the failure of the tests of initiation and the failures of the conquest. And think about American conquest, that's a big old topic there. So it's upending the conquest. So maybe this is a decolonizing card. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, this is an interesting combination, because what we have here for the rune now is Iwas, defense, avertive powers. And here's what's said about this. This is not a situation in which you can make your influence felt. No lusting after a desired outcome. Perseverance and foresight are called for. That's all we have there. So, very interesting. What is surrounding him? I don't know. That's, any ideas? That's a very fascinating one. I mean, I would say obviously that he's in a situation where he cannot exercise his kingship. That kind of makes sense. But the people around him, or the support system that they have, things are upended. Yes, obviously. I wonder about the doctors and the healers around him. Are they able to make themselves felt, or known, or have power in the situation, or guide it? Maybe that's the thing, is since we have no cure, we only have experimental treatments. They just can watch. Anyway, hopes and fears. And that's the position. What are our greatest hopes and our fears? And sometimes, let's be honest with ourselves, sometimes our hopes are our fears. Because, guess what? It's scary, the greatest hopes there. That's a lot to come true here. So, but it's beautiful. Look at this. It's the star. Waters of life are freely given. These are gifts of the Spirit. Truth is unveiled, glorious in undying beauty, pouring on the waters of the soul some part and measure of her priceless possession. She is the great mother, supernal understanding, who communicates to those below that they can receive her influx. Blessings from above. Of course, we want the healing of the land. I mean, I want it. I don't know about you, but I really want it. I think we all do. And there we go. So let's talk about the rune. Manas, the self, reversed. So when I wrote about this, I forgot that it was reversed, but I felt like it was so important that I do want to read the upright position as well. The starting point is the self. Its essence is water. Only clarity, willingness to change, is effective now. A correct relationship to yourself is primary, for from it flow all possible correct relationships with yourself and the divine. Remain modest, yielding, devoted, and moderate, receptive to impulses flowing from the divine within and without. Remember at all times what is coming to be and passing away, and focus on that which abides. The dancing acrobatic energy of balancing is called for here. The self is required to balance the self. And then I was like, oh right, it's reversed. So, considering all that, we must look inside in silence for the enemy of our progress. You will recognize the outer enemy is just a reflection of what you have not, until now, been able or willing to recognize as coming from within. So you know what that means? That is about retrieving the projections of our shadows. What we do not like in ourselves, what we fear and hate in ourselves, is that which we throw out on other people. And if Trump is not an absolute textbook case of a, I think Jungians would probably call it possession by the shadow. Archetypal possession by the shadow. I mean, he is the shadow. He has embodied the shadow of our culture. And I mean, that's, poor guy, Jesus, that's a lot. But you know, he's been doing that for a long time. This has been a choice that he's made a long ass time ago. And so here it is, it's coming to fruition. He can no longer avoid it. It's about, he's got to look at it now. I mean, when it comes down to it, when you're staring death in the face, what are you going to do? It reduces you to nothing. Nothing, literally, like nothing. I mean, who knows what he's going through? And so, you know, I don't expect that Trump is going to be transformed by this if he survives. I don't expect that he may well be even transformed by this if he doesn't survive. I mean, physically, but probably possibly not spiritually. So, but that's what's at hand, one way or the other. So, the point that is important to remember is that this, again, remember what the one before was, you know, what did it say? Nothing external matters here except as it is reflected on the inside. So all of these things are a mirror for all of us. Look in the mirror and look at what it is that we're doing and what we're going through, and, you know, take responsibility and be humble and forgive ourselves. It's definitely a huge part of it. But be willing to take responsibility and be willing to do better by people, do better by our loved ones, do better by strangers and other people in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and our everything. You know, I think I'm just repeating myself at this point. So yeah, you get the idea. And we get to move to what is considered the outcome of the entire, I know you can probably see it coming. Here it is. Whoopsie daisy. Holy moly. This is the absolute outcome card for the entire reading. And if that ain't it, I don't know what is, man. That is the Tower. So, this is the ruin of the house of life when evil has prevailed within. The rending of a house of doctrine, the fall of a house of falsehood, the chastisement of pride by the mystery of God. It signifies the end of a dispensation. It is a card of confusion and rectification. Oh, baby. Yeah. So, I'm sure other people can riff off of that too. That's pretty much all I was able to glean. Sometimes A.E. White is a little obtuse in his descriptions. So if anyone wants to take on that one and give me some more of how they think on what that means, I'm super interested. The rune. Mama. The rune that goes with this one. Oh, yeah. Pardon me. This is Daga's Breakthrough Transformation Day. This is the final rune belonging to the cycle of initiation. It signifies a major shift or breakthrough in the process of self-change, a complete transformation of attitude, a 180-degree turn, so radical that we may no longer continue to live ordinary life in the ordinary way. In each life, there comes a moment which, if recognized and seized, transforms the course of that life forever. Rely on radical trust, even though the moment may call for you to leap empty-handed into the void. The magnitude of the transformation may be so total as to portend a death, the successful conclusion to your passage. A major period of achievement and prosperity is often introduced by this rune. The darkness is behind you, daylight has come. A lot of hard work can be involved in a time of transformation. Undertake to do it joyfully. Blessed be. So, wow. There we go. Take a picture of the whole thing again. Oops, there's my notes. And, yeah. Wow. Oh my God, that was really long. I'm almost like 40 minutes into this. Well, for all of those of you who have hung on through this entire process, I hope that you have benefited from this in some way. I'm going to be integrating this for a long time. That's why I felt like this is one of the most powerful readings that I've ever done. And it's so phenomenal to add in, do a couple different divinatory methodologies at once. It's sort of like, whoa. Really fleshes it out. So I guess, okay, I'm gonna have another minute. In the minute, I'm going to, what am I gonna do now? You know what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna continue. I am going to, excuse me, I'm gonna read the I Ching. Because what I got for the I Ching, oops, wait, where'd it go? Here we go. The I Ching that I got was the taming power of the small. And, but this is about, this is what I wrote down from the I Ching. The power of the small, the power of the shadowy that restrains, tames, impedes, presents a configuration of circumstances in which a strong element is temporarily held in leash by a weak element. It is only through gentleness that this can have a successful outcome. The situation is not unfavorable. There is a prospect of ultimate success, but there are still obstacles in the way, and we can merely take preparatory measures. Only through the small means of friendly persuasion can we exert any influence. The time has not yet come for sweeping measures. However, we may be able, to a limited extent, to act as a restraining or subduing influence. To carry out our purpose, we need firm determination within, and gentleness and adaptability in external relationships. The image. The wind drives across heaven, the image of the taming power of the small. Thus the superior man refines the outward aspect of his nature. 9 in the 5th place means, if you are sincere and loyally attached, you are rich in your neighbor. Loyalty leads to firm ties because it means that each partner complements the other. If in the weaker person, loyalty consists in devotion, in the stronger, it consists in trustworthiness. This relation of mutual reinforcement leads to a true wealth that is all the more apparent because it is not selfishly hoarded, but is shared with friends. Pleasure shared is pleasure doubled. In closing, I want to say that it's amazing to lay side by side these 3 different divinatory modalities, because they each speak like a different cultural message. So with the Rider-Waite deck, there's a lot of alchemical and medieval Christian imagery. Certainly there's a lot that involves the end times, the rebirth of Christ and the apocalypse and revelations, and that's definitely a part of our culture. No doubt about it. The runes are really amazing because they speak more about the spiritual warrior and the the real internal work that's what that's about. And that's really beautiful. And then the I Ching has this sweet way of just bringing this whole question around to like intimacy in a way, and I just really overcome with that. So my final thought, and what I want to leave this with, is a prayer for our nation and our people in this country who are suffering. So many different people are suffering in so many different ways, and I truly send out prayers and wishes for whoever it is, anyone who is experiencing pain, suffering, to somehow find some sustenance, some spiritual sustenance, just in the magic of just being able to take another breath, and boy, yeah, that brings up stuff, doesn't it? Being able to breathe, whether it's smoke or COVID or Black Lives Matter, white supremacy. But, maybe that's how we get through it. Maybe that's significant, breathing, 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 breathing for those who are having a hard time breathing. We'll get through this. Thank you. Blessed be.